Welcome to the Coach's Corner, brought to you by Pulaski Electric System. I'm Steve Pierce, your host. Along beside of me, Bobcat head football coach Walt Smith. Coach, we've got a lot to talk about today. Let's back up to the Ensworth game. Ensworth came into Sam Davis Stadium, Jack Deere Field, a powerhouse. We knew it coming in, but the Bobcats fought hard.
Yeah, I thought we did. Honestly, I thought the first half of that game may have been the best half of football our defense has played all year against a really good opponent, maybe the best offensive line in the state, and kind of held our own. We put our defense in some bad situations with our punt coverage, and then we turned it over on downs one time deep in our own territory. But defensively, I thought we played really well, especially the first half against that big offensive line, and fought hard the whole night, and that's what we were wanting to do, is want our kids to compete that night. Again, playing a team like that, it's really tough, but I thought our kids competed well the whole night.
You're talking about competing. If we look back at the Bobcats, let's take the big games over the last couple of years against Fulton. We turn the ball over. We make a lot of mistakes. We get beat pretty bad. A lot of it was our own doing. And what everybody seemed to say in the general talk after the game was, yeah, Ensworth, the score showed 44-6, the Bobcats got beat. But you just alluded to it. I think the key is we made Ensworth work for every point.
Yeah, like I said, I thought our kids competed the whole night. Last year when we went up there, they had reserves in at halftime at the start of the second half, and this year they had their starters well all the way into. It was about 3 minutes to go when they finally scored that last touchdown and pulled everybody. But again, thought our kids competed really well, and I felt like maybe we turned a corner a little bit and got things going in the right direction with the way we compete and the way we got after folks on defense.
Let's back up to last year. After the Ensworth game, the Bobcats sort of caught fire, made it all the way to Cookeville, competed against Fulton, and come away with a silver ball. You know, being out there on that field with those athletes that basically are hand-picked, there's no other way to describe it, it shows them they can compete, and that's what you're talking about. It's got to be huge for a morale point for the kids.
Absolutely. Being able to believe that you can do something can never be overrated in my mind. And our kids seen last Friday against Ensworth that they could compete with some of the best in the nation, not only in the state, in the nation. And I felt like they did that for the most part all night. Again, as a whole, they were deeper than us and had more guys, than we did. But and the scoreboard ended up showing that at the end. But I felt like our guys fought and gave ourselves a chance to compete with them all night.
You just brought up a good point. We're dealing with 15 to 17, 18-year-old kids here. You can draw it all up, Coach, X's and O's and everything, have a great game plan, but it still comes about the mindset that you can get this done, that you can win that ball game.
Absolutely. Practice is obviously important. The off-season weight room, it can't be overstated. It's definitely important, but when it comes down to it, it's what's going on between the ears of those 15, 16, 17-year-old guys, and that's what's going to determine the success and outcomes of a lot of games. And I felt like Friday night we got our mindset back to where it should have been and going in the right direction.
So the Bobcats, they come off of a tough overtime loss to Page. Then they take on Ensworth. You've seen the progression, Coach, where they played better, and now we're all the way up to last Friday night. Spring Hill comes into Sam Davis Park, Jack Deere Field, and the Bobcats walk away with a victory.
Yeah, I thought we finally came out of the gate the way I felt like we could all year. The first half may have been the most complete half of football we've played as a whole team, offense, defense, special teams, everything, up 21-0 at half, and just played a really sound game of football. The last drive right there before the half, going 99 yards in 2 minutes and I think 2 seconds or something like that right before the half was really big, and gave us some momentum going into halftime. Didn't really change a whole lot at halftime, tweaked a few things on defense to give us some better chances against some of their sets, and offensively just talked about how we were going to take advantage of some of the things we thought they might do. But, give Spring Hill credit. They came out the second half, tried to make a football game of it, but I was really proud of the offensive line Friday night. I felt like they took over the game halfway through the third and into the fourth quarter, and that was the difference.
Coach, the offensive line, they've been a work in progress all year long, and you made some statements to us off the air after the game the other night about how the offensive linemen were wanting you to call a play to run behind them. You see their confidence building?
Absolutely. Again, they've got a thankless job. The only time they get noticed is when they mess up, and the only time they get noticed is when we don't have a good game running the football. But they've kind of stayed the course and plugged and tried to get better every week. And Friday night, for the first time all year, I got guys coming to me on the sideline going, "Coach, run behind me. I can block this guy. We can run over here to the right all night long," and we were able to do that.
Building confidence.
Absolutely.
Talk about Trevor Holder for just a little bit. The other night, in the first half, he had a couple of passes across the middle. One to Lucas Harrison. It was a little hot. But other than that, seemed like great decision makings, some really good throws by Trevor Holder.
Absolutely. I've said it all year. I'm not trading him for anybody that I've seen this year. He's, again, looking at his numbers, they're as good as anybody's. He's got over 2,500 yards total offense this year already through 9 games. And as much as we've thrown the ball to only have 3 interceptions, to me, is just phenomenal. Done a great job taking care of the football this year for us, and has made some huge throws in some clutch situations to make some plays for us.
Coach, we knew at the start of the season that Jordan Tucker was going to be a really good running back and run hard, and I think last Friday night he showed the type running back he can be. Just a junior coming back next year, but just a really good performance from Jordan Tucker.
Yeah, I thought it was a great performance by him. Again, they stacked the box on us a lot of the night, and he was able to squirt free with the long run and then just get us some really tough yards running through some tackles. The game plan going in actually was to get Arkell Reed a few more carries, just simply because he had been having some good weeks of practice and some good games carrying the football. But Jordan had the hot hand and was running the ball so well, we just kind of stayed with him most of the night, and it paid off with a big night for him and us both.
Swapping over to the defensive side of the ball, Coach, it seems like your defensive line is making progress also. Talking about the linemen, we've sort of seen it from the end of the Page game through the Ensworth game, and then the other night, more plays being made at the point of attack by the defensive line.
Yeah, again, we've started moving them a little bit, letting them slant and play some games up there with them, and I think that's gave them a little bit of confidence and made them a little more aggressive. They're not having to just sit and read all night, and I think that's really helping them out. Trey Turner came through a couple times Friday night like he wasn't even blocked, and made some big plays for us in the backfield. And our whole defensive front is getting better. I feel like we're going to get the ball more. We've got more guys we're getting more hats to the ball, and that's what a sign of a good defense is getting a lot of guys around the football.
You just alluded to it. A lot of the comments the other night, gang tackling on a lot of the tackles against Spring Hill. There was a whole lot of Bobcats there whenever the whistle was blown.
Yeah, I mean, and again, Spring Hill's not a bad football team. They're probably going to end up in the playoffs. Got a game against Columbia and finish out with Page the rest of the year. But they were 4-0 at one point in the year. Got a couple of injuries and then had a couple of losing games right there. But they're a good football team, and I felt like we played one of our better games against them Friday night in a must-win situation for us.
Yeah, talk about Spring Hill's quarterback, big, tall, lanky kid. It reminds me, it takes me back a little bit to whenever Bo Wallace was here. A lot of people didn't think Bo was that fast, but his stride is so long. That young man, he covers a lot of yards in very few steps.
Yeah, in the open field, I think he's as tough to tackle as anybody we've played this year out in the open field. Obviously, I mean, he throws the ball pretty well. He's definitely going to play at the next level. I don't know if it'll be a quarterback, but I definitely think he could play defensive back or wide receiver at the next level, just with the speed. Like the one he broke down the sidelines was just a great run by him, and then the one touchdown they had down there on the goal line actually wasn't even designed to go where he went, and he just made a great play. And good players are going to do that a lot of times. Cameron does it for us a lot of times, and we have other guys do it too. But sometimes it doesn't matter what you draw up; that guy just goes out and makes a play, and he did that a couple times against us Friday night, and kind of outran us and got us in some bad situations. But he's a good football player, and that's going to happen. I felt like our defense did a good job bouncing back for that and limiting those opportunities for him.
Well, Coach, you talked about it, the defense swarming to the ball. Dontarius Gilbert had been plagued with a few injuries this year. Doc looked better. 3 looked a whole lot better the other night.
He did. He's finally getting the burst back that made him the kind of player he was last year and the year before. Again, he's tied with Cameron for the career lead for interceptions at the school, and been hampered by a hamstring that's just really made him a shell of himself most of the year. Had to play on one leg basically the whole year. and has fought through it for us. Been a great leader, trying to be out there for his teammates every week. But he finally, Friday night was really the first time he told us that he had felt like he had that burst back on the field, and a week off this week's definitely going to get him prepared for hopefully a long run.
Coach, it was senior night, and as a coach, whenever you've got homecoming, senior night, a lot of things going on, there's distractions. But just a really great moment the other night. Richard, Leanne, and Zach Holt out on the field honoring the memory of Trent Holt. Trent would have been a senior in this class. And recognizing the senior football players, their parents, the cheerleaders, the band of gold. It was a special night here at Sam Davis Park, Jack Deere Field.
Absolutely. Again, this senior class, we've talked about it all year. They've been through way more than any senior class ought to go through as far as tragedy and things to have to deal with, distractions and things like that. But it shows their resilience and their character. We talked about it in the locker room about leaving a legacy, and I told them, the legacy they're going to leave in life is already a great one, just because of the way they've dealt with things that they've had to deal with. And now we want to go out and work on leaving a good legacy out there on the field with us also. And I felt like Friday night we took a step in the right direction to hopefully make a run and leave them a good legacy on the field.
Well, there you go. The Bobcats victorious over Spring Hill. Big district win for the Bobcats. It puts their record now at 4-5. The Bobcats off this week. It's their bye week. Coach, in 2 weeks, the final border rivalry, Marshall County.
Yeah, again, it's good to get this off week just to kind of heal up Doc and several other guys. Devontae didn't play for us at all on the D-line Friday night. We're going to get him back well again. And several other guys just got those nicks and bruises that the grind of the season gets to you. And it's definitely good. I like the off week being this late in the year to hopefully heal everybody up right before the big rivalry game and then going into the playoffs.
Coach, what do you see in Marshall County? I know you hadn't had time to watch all the film that you're going to watch on them, but what have you seen so far from Marshall County?
A much improved football team. They're a little bit better up front. Had a good year in the weight room, seems like, and they've got some really good athletes. The Walker kid's been offered by several schools to play defense or offense. He runs the ball for them now this year instead of playing wide out, and they got a sophomore, a Howard kid that's is about as elusive as any sophomore in the state, I would say. He's a really good football player. The quarterback has made some really good strides this year that have helped them become the team they are and have the success that they've had. And the biggest thing is, though, they've got some confidence. They had some early wins with some teams, and it's gave them some confidence, and they just kind of built on that. And like I said before, believing you can is more than half the battle, and I feel like they've got a little confidence going into games now, and that's been the biggest differences in them last year and this year.
Coach, this week you sort of got an extra week here. You go back, you work on fundamentals, just the basics of the game some?
Yeah, well, we talked about 2 weeks ago after the Page game that we can't look at the big picture anymore. We've got to look at it one day at a time. I know it's cliche to say, but we're just going to try to be a better football team ourselves every day when we come off the football field. And I felt like the last 2 weeks we kind of have done that. We've taken a step every day, it seems like, even though the Ensworth loss. I felt like we took some steps forward in some areas. So we're just going to continue that this week. We'll go back and do some fundamentals. We'll put in a few wrinkles. The off week gives you time to put in some wrinkles that other people haven't seen maybe in the past, the films they get. We'll do that and also just work on getting us better.
Coach, the Bobcats now, their record at 4-5. Let's talk a little bit about the TSS playoffs. With 4 wins, the Bobcats are pretty much totally dependent on everybody else. As far as everything comes into play, the wins, the losses, the strength of schedule, everything comes into play. So the Bobcats, if they suffered a loss to Marshall County, could squeak into the playoffs. But it's so important that we take this game in 2 weeks.
Yeah, again, there have been 4-win teams get into playoffs in the past, but you don't like leaving it to all that because some of the details go down to your opponent's record against teams over 500 and things like that. I mean, there's so many tiebreakers that goes into. We talked to the kids yesterday. The one good thing about it is we still control our own destiny. We went out. We beat Marshall County next week and finished the season 5-5 in a tie for second place. in the district, and it's going to automatic 5 wins is going to get us in the playoffs for sure, and then the new season starts and everybody's 0-0.
There you go. So the Bobcats making improvements. Coach, you've got to be happy over the last couple of weeks how your team has turned it around and responded.
I am. I feel like we've gotten better, like I said, every day the last couple of weeks since that Page loss. You know, a lot of times a loss like that being devastating at the end of the game like that, the season could go a completely different direction. I felt like, it's a credit to these seniors being the leaders that they are, keeping us up, keeping us going in the right direction, and maybe turning the corner and getting back to the old Bobcat football.
There you go. So the Bobcats off this Friday night. In 2 weeks, they'll travel to Marshall County. If there ever was a time that the Bobcat 12th man needs to show up, this is it, Coach.
Absolutely. Guys can't even tell you how much the crowd means to them out there. Feeling them, the big gold, the band of gold being there for us, just playing, and the 12th man up there is just huge for the kids to feel them there, especially going into a hostile environment like I know Marshall County will have for us.
It'll be Halloween night, folks, at Marshall County. Your Bobcats taking on the Marshall County Tigers at 7 o'clock. Huge district game, and it counts so much as to where the Bobcats will be positioned come playoff time. So everybody plan on it. Halloween, Marshall County, be there. I'm Steve Pierce. This has been the Coach's Corner. We'll see you at Marshall County.